My name is Stuart Jamieson in English, and my given Indian name is Saket Jowa. That's my chief's title. Okay, my given Indian name is Jack Waggle. I was born and raised on a Tonawanda Indian reservation. Seems like the earliest memory in my lifetime is enjoying all the things that surrounded me, and I never realized how many things we didn't have compared with the rest of the population. We didn't have any hot water or cold water. As a matter of fact, we didn't even have a water supply. And we never had a sewer system, and everything we did, we had to do outside. And perhaps that was a good thing, because nowadays it seems like we eat outside on a picnic, and then we go inside to go to the bathroom. But we used to do the opposite. We used to eat inside and go to the bathroom outside. so there's I think there's some good in some of in the way my lifestyle was at that time. We never spoke English in my household. Everything was in Seneca, and that was my grandmother, my mother, and Amir, who was almost like my brother. So we all kind of just depended on one another to survive and live. We never really had an income. All the things that we ate, I had to go to hunting and bring home the food so that we had something to eat, and all of that was, to me, was an enjoyable thing, because we were able to accomplish things within our own means. We, I guess, compared to what the standards are nowadays, we were kind of in a poverty level. We never had an income of any type, and we never had running water or any of the utilities that are enjoyed nowadays. So, but that didn't bother me, because I enjoyed life, and I enjoyed everything around me, so I made good use of whatever I had to perhaps enhance my life. I guess I was kind of gifted, which I didn't realize, because I seem to have excelled in every activity I tried to get involved with. I became very good in sports. I became very good in high school with basketball and also football, and in later years I became good in, I thought I was good in lacrosse, and so the sports activity was really, I think, really kept me interested in life. But in the meantime, I never realized it, but I was being monitored, I believe, by some of my elders on how I should be when I grew up, and I think all those things just became embedded in me without my realizing what it was. But I seemed to always excel in whatever I wanted to do, and then it seemed like, and I was. Today, I think I was gifted in the fact that I learned my language. That's all we spoke in my younger days. It's the Seneca. We never spoke English around the house, so I became, and I was kind of angry at my folks because they didn't teach me English, which I had trouble with. And when I went to school, I didn't know, I wasn't that familiar with the English language when I went to grade school. So I had a lot of learning to do and catching up to do to be able to participate in the things that went on in school. So, but I guess I persevered because I did get through high school. I did not graduate, and one of the reasons was that if I graduated, a party or some kind of a graduation party was expected, and I knew my mother didn't have the finances to be able to do such a thing. So I didn't graduate. I went to work and tried to gain enough income so that my grandmother, my mother, and myself, and Amer could live comfortably. After I got through high school, the World War II was in progress, and everybody, all the young guys in the neighborhood were going into the service to serve their time as required by the federal government. So I wasn't quite up to a point where I was required to. I volunteered. As a matter of fact, I volunteered twice. I was 16 years old when I first volunteered, and they told me I was too young. So I had to go back to the reservation and ask my chiefs out there to see if they could give me a note or some kind of a recognition of what my age was. So they said, so they put me as 17, so I was able to get in. Actually, I was only 16 and a half years old when I went to the service, and I went to the Marine Corps. That was to me, I guess that was a good experience. It taught me discipline, taught me how to get things done, how to get people together to accomplish things. So I did sure learn some things while I was in the service. As a matter of fact, I guess I became so astute in the activities that I was selected and chosen to be. I believe I was the first youngest. I was the youngest non-commissioned officer in the Marine Corps because I was only 17 years old when I was given that position. And right after I was promoted to that position, if they froze all our positions in the Marine Corps, so I stayed at that position, but I was doing things up to the sergeant major position while I was in the Marine Corps. Well, we were trained at Paris Island, where we were giving our basic training. Then when I was in the Marine Corps, and then I was stationed at Camp Lejeune for a while, and at the time I was told that if I got into the fire department, I would spend the rest of my duration as a fireman. So I volunteered as a fireman, which I got, and I was there just about 4 months, and I was shipped overseas to on the occupational forces. Headed for China. I took my GED and I passed that, and then I went to Buffalo and I got a job there, and I worked for a manufacturing company for 15 years until I retired from there. I retired being a foreman of my division, and I went on to work for the Seneca Nation for a few years, where I sort of learned what the situation is in the social life, and I became interested in economic development and how we could use the resources in our areas to our benefit. So I went into that, and I became, I guess, somewhat know what what my intentions were. So I was asked by the National Congress of American Indians if I would come and work for them as the Director of Economic Development. So it was kind of a challenge for me because I wasn't that familiar with what I was doing, as familiar as I should be with what I was doing. But evidently there must have been something there, because I did take the job in Washington, went to Washington and worked out of that office. So I was responsible for the economic development of the Native Americans, also for the Alaska Natives. And one of my primary concern was to provide as much assistance as we could for agricultural development. And I found that the Department of Agriculture is to provide all the resources that are supposed to be available for agricultural development wasn't available to the Native Americans or Alaska Natives. I developed a task force in Washington D.C. to see what we could do to at least find out where the barriers were. And in the process, I was asked by the Department of Agriculture if I would come to work for them, because I was criticizing so much. They wanted me to help fix the situation, which I did. I became the Director of Economic Development in the Department of Agriculture, and I was given a wide open resources on how I should develop my programs. As I said before, I initially developed a task force in Washington D.C. of all the federal agencies that provide assistance to Native Americans and Alaska Natives. And secondly, after I got to the Department of Agriculture, I developed a task force out in the field, which involved 14 different states, which we designated as Alaska Native specialists to help me in the Department of Agriculture, help me analyze the programs and also the delivery system. So in that process, we uncovered about 70 different barriers to the resources that are available to the rest of the population. At the time I left, I retired from USDA with 40, a little over 40 of the barriers were removed, either through legislation or policy-wise, or whatever was needed to remove that barrier. So we did uncover some of the major barriers, and that the other ones were not as severe as the ones that we just identified. So I think so. And in that process, I realized that I needed some backup, I guess I should say, to get the things accomplished that I need to. So I said, I had connections with both the House and also the Senate, so I had contacts there on how to make things move legislative-wise. But then I also had to have some policy, a lot of policy changes. So I had to go to that depended on what the White House intentions were. So I managed to get to the White House representative, and I managed there to establish a Native American and Alaska Native contact at the White House, which I believe is still in existence. Maybe not as effective as it was at that time, but at least there's still a position there. So I think, and then after my 15 years with the Department of Agriculture, I retired and came back to the Tonawanda Indian Reservation to retire, but instead I went to the Cattaraugus Reservation to retire. I bought a home there, and my wife and myself spent quite a bit of our life there. So I spent some time working for the nation as an economic development specialist. Okay, while I was in high school, I met my eventual wife, which is Winona Blue Eye, and we went together for about a year before I was able to be economically stable to ask her to marry me, which she did, and we both lived in Buffalo for a while, and then we eventually moved back to Tonawanda and rented a home out there. And I guess my desire in love was to make Winona as happy as I could, so I gathered as many of my resources as I could to build a home on a Tonawanda Indian reservation, which I did build. And we were together, Winona and I were together for 50 years before she finally succumbed to diabetes. And I think I've done fairly well in my lifetime. I think I've been able to accomplish all the things I wanted to. And thinking back, I think that I really led a charmed life, because I don't know of anybody that has experienced so much as I have in my lifetime, to be able to be given all the offering of the things that are available to the world. In the process of Winona and myself, in 50 years of our marriage, we developed two daughters. Janine is the oldest daughter, and Luann. And the three of us, my wife, Janine, and Luann, was my biggest concern. They lived a good life, and I'm trying able to provide them with all the things they needed to. But my oldest daughter, Janine, went to Cornell, and one of the reasons was that she was able to get there was that when I was working at the Buffalo Forge, I realized there was a high executive there that was on the board of Cornell. So I got in touch with him and asked him if he could do whatever he could to get my daughter to go to Cornell. And evidently things seemed to work out, because she did go to Cornell and graduated from there, and then she went on to University of Buffalo to get her master's. So and Luann was trying to find herself, I think, in the world, and she went to 3 different colleges, but just couldn't quite get comfortable in it. So she went on to private life to support herself in whatever way she could. But in later life, she became interested in the health of the Native Americans. So she to be able to be more effective in it, she went on to college at the Syracuse University, where she became a very good student and wound up and graduated with honors. So I think that my family seemed to be very successful in accomplishing what we wanted to. I was chosen to be a chief for the Hawk Clan at the Tonawanda Indian Reservation, which was kind of a unique request, because I wasn't a member of the Tonawanda Reservation, but I was a member of the Cattaraugus Reservation. And a chief usually has to be a member of that reservation, but we went through the process of the Six Nation Confederacy, and I would be suited for that position. So that's what my main position is at this point. So I'm right now I'm working with the town of Montebello Seneca to try to resolve some of the issues that are there now. There are many, but we're working on it. I'd like to touch on the value of an education, and I've never really felt that an education was needed in the lifestyle of Native Americans. But later on in life, I realized how much I missed having a formal education to accomplish the things I did. But evidently, I did accomplish those things. But it would have been a lot easier if I'd gained the type of education that I need to fit into the job positions that I got into. And but I think that the basic thing that we have to realize and also be aware of is that we have to have a basic knowledge of who we are and what we're all about, and then use that education that we get in the outside world to the benefit of what our knowledge is all about, in referring to our way of life, and also us as individuals and as a community. So the education, I think the education we get depends on the amount of knowledge we have of ourselves, so that we can use our education to the best benefit to ourselves we can.